So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a force that is quietly reshaping, well, pretty much everything, from the stock market to reality itself. We're talking about a world where the biggest fortunes aren't made on an asset's actual value, but on the delay in our understanding of that value. Okay, let's get into it. This single idea basically turns modern finance on its head. For decades, everyone chanted the mantra of efficient markets, right? The idea that all the information is already baked into the price. But what if that's not the real story? What if the biggest inefficiency isn't in the numbers, but in our heads? In the time it takes for all of us to collectively catch up to what's really happening? Well, that's latency. And believe me, that's where the real game is being played now. I want you to picture this. It's 4:17 in the morning. The city's completely dark, totally asleep. But in some office building, for a firm like Helix Arbitrage, the day has already started. And they're not looking at today's headlines. Nope. They're searching for the quiet, almost invisible cracks in what everybody else believes. Those tiny little signals that whisper the world is about to change its mind. To really get this, we need to look at one specific, almost unbelievable event. It's a trade that lasted all of 19 minutes, but was built on weeks and weeks of just patient watching. It is the perfect example of how you can weaponize that gap between something happening and the world recognizing it. It all started with this. A tiny, statistically irrelevant twitch in Japanese bond yields. Seriously, on its own, this is just noise. Most trading algorithms, most actual human traders, they just filter it right out. It means absolutely nothing. Then, thousands of miles away, the second signal pops up. Some obscure African currency that literally nobody is watching suddenly starts to get stronger. Again, if you look at it by itself, it's just a weird quirk, more static on the screen. And then came the final piece of the puzzle, a really subtle dip. Not in the price of oil, but in the trading volume. It was like a slight hesitation, a sign that traders weren't so sure of themselves anymore. So you take these three completely unrelated signals, and when you put them together, they create a contradiction, a kind of quiet incoherence in the story the market was telling itself. And then all it took was one single vague statement from a European bank to light the fuse. That little bit of uncertainty went viral. Risk models everywhere started recalibrating. And the market didn't panic and crash in a big dramatic way. It did something weirder. It just came apart. It unwound. Things that were supposed to move together suddenly didn't, and assets started moving against all known logic, because the logic itself was now in question. And that was the result, nearly $500 million. Now listen, this is the most important part. That profit wasn't made because some asset was price strong. It was extracted from the collective misunderstanding of the entire market. They didn't bet on a price going up or down. They bet on the story itself falling apart. So how do you take a single trade like that and turn it into an entire philosophy? Well, this is where we move past the trading desk and into a whole new way of seeing and profiting from human psychology. And this right here illustrates the whole shift perfectly. We've moved from the old way, trading prices based on things like company earnings, to a new way, trading beliefs based on cognitive latency. The game isn't about analyzing a balance sheet anymore. It's about analyzing how fast a popular narrative falls apart and making your money in that messy period of misunderstanding. This is it. This is the key to the whole thing. Cognitive latency. It's the most valuable, most exploitable inefficiency in any human system. And I'm not just talking about markets. Think about it. It's the time it takes for a shocking headline to actually feel real, or for a new technology to go from confusing to normal. That gap, that interval, well, that's everything. And this is why the real edge isn't about being the fastest. It's about restraint. The complex models these firms use, they spend most of their time doing absolutely nothing. They just wait. They watch for that one perfect moment when a belief becomes brittle, right before it shatters. The real skill isn't in acting, it's in knowing the precise moment to act. All right, let's zoom out now, because this way of thinking, finding and exploiting these delays in understanding, it hasn't stayed on the trading floor. It's now the organizing principle for a whole new kind of global power. For 100 years, power was something you could touch. It was a physical thing, like oil being pumped out of the ground. But today, that's changing. Power is migrating. Now it's being extracted from the human mind, from our data, from our attention, from our predictable behaviors. Whoever controls the optimization algorithms, well, they control the new oil. This huge shift in power has created something we could call the scripted globe. A world where the systems around us don't just react to what we do. No, they're starting to predict and even shape our behavior, a lot of the time before we're even aware of it. I mean, just look at politics. Are campaigns really battles of ideas anymore, or are they contests of who has the more precise data? Voters are sliced and diced into tiny groups and fed curated information streams designed to nudge them. We all end up living in these personalized political realities, which makes finding any kind of shared truth almost impossible. Even celebrity is being optimized. We're now seeing the rise of AI influencers who never get old, they never make a PR mistake, and they can change instantly based on what their audience wants. In a world like that, actual human authenticity, with all of its messiness and unpredictability, starts to look really inefficient. And this is the end result of all that. When every single piece of information we see is optimized to keep our individual attention, the very idea of a shared reality just breaks apart. There's no public square anymore. There's just an infinite number of private little feedback loops. So where does all this lead? What actually happens when you follow this logic of total optimization to its natural conclusion? The result is a world with a lot more convenience, a world with less friction. And on the surface, that sounds fantastic, right? But we really have to ask ourselves what we're trading away for all that comfort. Because when you optimize away all the struggle and all the uncertainty, you might also be giving up meaningful choice. When the path is always perfectly scripted for us, our own freedom becomes, well, uncertain. And that leaves us with one last massive question. In our race to build this perfectly efficient, perfectly optimized, and totally predictable world, are we accidentally scripting the human experience right out of existence? If every outcome can be simulated and every choice can be nudged, what does it even mean to be alive?